Does the Star Wars galaxy need Jedi anymore? This is a question that Kathleen Kennedy claims that the upcoming Star Wars films will be tackling. And it is also a question that should enrage many longtime Star Wars fans for very obvious reasons. Because if we're talking about the old EU lore, then the answer is absolutely yes. The galaxy does need the Jedi Order. As fellow YouTuber V pointed out in one of his recent videos, part of the whole point of the Jedi Order was to teach people who are Force sensitive in a manner that doesn't actively turn them into being a danger to both themselves as well as others. This was a task that was all the more necessary given the allure of the dark side of the Force, and the fact that Sith artifacts, for example, would actively draw anyone who is Force sensitive to them. I could also point out the fact that the Jedi perform the role of being peacekeepers throughout much of the history of the Old Republic as far as the EU lore is concerned as well. So yes, the short answer as far as the EU lore is concerned is that the galaxy absolutely needed the Jedi Order. Unfortunately, we are of course not talking about the old EU lore these days. We are talking about the current Disney canon. And sadly, within the context of that universe, Kathleen Kennedy's question is actually a good question. Although that's not exactly a defense of Kathleen Kennedy, as the only reason that is a good question is because Kathleen Kennedy and her brand of minions have made it a good question by doing absolutely everything in their power to destroy the lore of the Jedi Order. The Jedi are simply no longer effective at teaching people how to safely use the Force, nor are they effective at being peacekeepers. Now, longtime viewers are probably going to be able to guess exactly some of the examples I'm going to be bringing up to prove this point. Because, of course, they are going to be coming from the High Republic comics, which are set in what is supposed to be a golden age for both the Jedi Order and the Republic itself. So keep in mind that these examples are set at a point where the Jedi Order is at its greatest peak. Now, when it comes to addressing the fact that the Jedi Order are now ineffective at teaching people how to use the Force safely, I need only bring up this one single panel from Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures. Yes, you heard that right. Not an issue, not a page, a single panel. A single panel in which we see a Jedi Master telling someone who is Force sensitive that the Council has decided not to make them a Jedi, but will teach them how to use the Force. They just won't teach them the Jedi philosophy, which revolves around how to use the Force safely. In addition to this, we also get a Padawan telling the individual who is Force sensitive that when it comes to emotions, quote, "Nobody expects you not to feel the way you feel." Both of these lines from this single panel completely destroy the Jedi's ability to teach people how to use the Force safely. Because this A, proves that the Jedi Order is willing to teach people how to use the Force, but not how to safely control it, while B, it also proves that the Jedi Order isn't even following its own teachings. Because the statement, "Nobody expects you not to feel the way you feel," is about as contradictory to Jedi philosophy as you can get. But let's also talk about the role of the Jedi as being peacekeepers and how that has been absolutely destroyed as well. And an excellent example of that can be found in the very first issue of the first High Republic comic book series, in which we discover that the Jedi are actually greater villains than even the Sith, to the point that they will deliberately put populated planets in danger just to test their Padawans. In that issue, what they essentially did was drop a discount Tyranid hive fleet on a planet, and again they did this just to see if the Padawan could save that planet. So ultimately, yes, as much as I hate to say it, Kathleen Kennedy did actually ask a good question when it comes to the Disney canon as to whether or not the galaxy needs the Jedi Order. Although if anything, this only further condemns her, because it serves as further evidence that the changes that have been made to the lore in her name have been deliberate and malicious in nature. Now, for those curious, I will of course be leaving a link to an archive of the article that I showed in the description below. And yes, there is more to it than just her talking about that one specific question. Though I hope you'll agree with me when I decided that that one specific question deserved its very own specific video in response. Because boy does it not show just how much Star Wars as an IP has fallen, thanks very specifically to Kathleen Kennedy and her supporters. Basically what I'm saying is, don't be surprised if the day that she finally gets kicked out of being involved with Star Wars at all is a day of mass celebration for Star Wars fans, much like the ending of Return of the Jedi, after news spread that Emperor Palpatine got thrown down a reactor, like he deserved, and frankly like she deserves as well at this point. But with all of that said, this has been Ace. Hope to see you guys again soon. Take care. Ace out.